Today, I'm speaking with an amazing songstress, an amazing woman. Her name is Karen Bryant. We've been having a pre-show conversation in the background, but she is like when you hear her music, it's one of those things that just absolutely soothes your soul. I was listening to it before we started talking. When we got on here, and it took me back to a very happy place. And so today we're just going to have a conversation about mastering your media, music, movies, and moves. And Karen, I am so excited to have you on here. I saw you on an interview with a good friend of mine, Chris Gloss,
Yes.
and I knew at that point we got to be friends because it was just an amazing, heartfelt conversation that you all had. And I said, you know what? These are the kind of conversations I believe that the world deserves to hear. So, Karen, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna, of course, go with the obvious. What got you into singing in the first place? It is definitely something that is naturally a gift for you. So how did that whole, phenomenon start for you?
Singing publicly,
Mm,
that has been a long journey, but music has always been in my life. I feel like my parents listened to different genres of music, so I was always hearing different things, and lyrics seem to stick with me. So I would sing everything all the time.
mm, mhm.
And then they even had what they don't have anymore on television is Schoolhouse Rock.
Oh
So
wow.
I knew every song to every Schoolhouse Rock there was, and I sang those. That was my music. That was my therapy. While my
Mhm.
sisters listened to R&B, and my father listened to country and gospel, and my mother listened to gospel and blues and
Mhm.
soft rock, and so I just had a whole gamut of music around me.
Who's your favorite, out of all of those genres? What impacted you the most?
Um, at an early age, hmm, probably the soft rock,
Hmm.
um, what they call now yacht rock.
Hmm.
I sang, all that type of stuff more. It's like my mother and I in the car together riding, then that's what she played. And it wasn't until I got older and my sisters were gone, because I'm the youngest of the three. They're 10 and 12 years older than I am. And once they left, it was no more of their music. So that's when rap started to really kind of take off. So I'm
Hmm.
listening to Curtis Blow and Run
Hmm.
DMC and yeah, all of them. And so of course that had an impact. The
Hmm.
things that they were talking about, which resonated with me. Um, my older once I yes, rap was a big deal because
Hmm.
that went on for many years, even into Houdini and KSR1, and
Oh
that's
yes.
when that's when I got
Yeah.
that militant side started to come out. Yeah,
Right. Nice, nice.
and then getting older and leaving home is when I think gospel really, um, that's when that really started to take hold, when I could relate a little more to the things that they were saying in the songs. So, yeah, I don't really have a favorite genre. I think it depends on what's going on.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but most definitely the message in the song, regardless of the genre, the message is what gets me.
And you know, you and I, we talked the other day, and we talked about lyrics, the importance of lyrics. You know
Yeah,
how important those words are. And you know, one thing that I didn't tell you in that conversation is that, yeah, well, I might have, that I've written poetry from the time that I was in elementary, junior high. And when you said what you said about the words, how important the words are, oh yeah, we did talk. I can relate to that because words are, like, this whole thing was created with words,
exactly.
and
Ex-
so they have an energy to them, you
yes,
know. So when you're singing and when you select the song, okay, you're very particular about the songs that you select, you know. Why is that? What about the songs actually speak to you that you say, okay, these are the words that I want to come through my vocals?
because that's a representative of me
Mm,
and who I am conveying to the world that I am.
mhm.
So I used to sing, like popular songs. Of course, when I first started out singing, I just learned songs that the band leaders would tell me,
Right.
oh, let's learn this. This is hot right now. Learn, sing this, do that. But then after a while, there was a conflict in me.
Hmm.
Um, that's not really who I am. That's
Hmm.
not really who I want to be. So I don't want to go and portray this image, especially being a woman in
Hmm.
this industry. There's certain things that I don't want to portray to an audience that has a man in it at all whatsoever
Right.
anywhere,
Right.
because I don't want him thinking that I am
Right.
that way, and then after I come off stage, hey, yeah, come. No, sir. That's
Right.
not what's happening here.
Hmm.
So, thank you, but no thank you. Um,
Right.
so then um, when I actually started listening, I guess more to the person inside of me
Mm.
and finding out who she is, and that became stronger. um, I started saying no to some of the songs that were chosen for me. Uh,
Mm.
and not because it was a bad song or whatever, it just didn't fit me.
Right.
And I started looking at writing songs for me,
Mm.
for myself, and the message that I wanted to actually get out. Because even to me, honestly, some gospel songs just don't do it
Right.
for me. Um, I just, I don't know sometimes if we have the same God, because
Mm.
some of it I just don't see being God. It's the will of
Mm.
God that's thrown on God. To me, sometimes is a misrepresentation of truly who God is and the love that God has for us. So
Mhm.
I'm even selective with that. And then I learned too about what I'm listening to. So, garbage in, garbage out. So
Mm.
I just
Yeah.
want to cut out, different stuff. And I'm a storyteller, if you can't tell by now.
Right.
Um, I'm a storyteller. So I think I got that from country music, because
Mm.
country
Oh, I
music
love country
definitely,
music. Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
definitely tells stories, and
Yeah.
I love it. It's a condensed version of a
Hmm.
story, because
Hmm.
it has the beginning, it has the
Hmm.
middle, and there's got the climax, and then it's like, okay,
Hmm.
here's the end. It's either a good ending where you're all happy, or it's
Right.
a sad ending and you're ready to cry at the end of the song, and
Right.
so that's me. I like the journey. So
Mm. Okay. You talked about, um, coming into your voice. You know, where your voice became stronger. You got that sense of who you are, and then so that colored or shifted even the music that you would allow yourself to sing or would listen to, even, and all that. What was that process like, coming into your own voice? You know, that part of your development.
It was uncomfortable.
Hmm.
It
Okay.
was
What about
very
it
it
was uncomfortable?
was very uncomfortable because what people a lot of times don't know is that the music industry is can be very lonely.
Mm.
You may have a lot of people around you
Hmm.
and still feel alone.
Yeah.
So, um, instead of being around people and feeling alone, um, I just started to stay, by myself a
Mm.
lot
Hmm.
and just work on me and develop me. And it was still a conflict a lot of times back and forth, um, between the desire to be with people,
Hmm.
but the discomfort that I felt while I was with them
Right.
made me stay away even more.
Mm.
Um, so I'm still developing. I haven't
Hmm.
reached. I don't think I've come close to who I really am.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and I've finally started to embrace the journey, if you will,
Hmm. Now
because
tell
I
me
fought
something.
it tooth and nail for a very long time.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So let's talk about the journey. Okay. So you finally embrace it. What did that process look like for you finally to surrender to that process? Okay. So I'm going to embrace this journey. You know, there's a lot of unknowns.
I grew up a tomboy.
Mm.
I'm still very much a tomboy to my heart.
Hmm.
I love outside. I wanna what don't wanna do makeup and all that. This industry is so super. It,
Right.
it just drove me crazy. I was
Yeah.
like, and I was gonna go against the grain. So somewhere inside of me, God knows the purpose. I haven't
Yeah.
found that out yet, but somewhere inside of me is something that if you say that I can't do something or you say that I can't have something,
Mm.
why can't I do it?
Right.
Why can't I have it? Okay, well, let's find out. And
Hmm.
then I'm going to go and do the exact opposite.
Hmm.
I'm going to figure out if I can. And it's not to prove anybody wrong, but it's like where you and I talked earlier about being inside of the box.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be in the box at all. So
Yeah.
I don't, think outside of it. Well, if I'm outside, I don't have to worry about thinking anywheres. I have a lot of room and
Exactly.
atmosphere and
Yeah.
energy, and I have all of the elements, natural
Mm-hmm.
elements. I think in the box is crowded and it's
Hmm.
cloudy and
Hmm.
it's muttered. There's too many other voices. But if
Hmm.
I'm outside, I've learned in this process that being outside of the box, I am I feel like I'm closer to God. Like one of
Right.
the things that I love to do is go to the mountains and hike. I want to go
Mm.
on a trail, and the journey on to the top of that mountain may be a difficult one, but the view when I get there is glorious.
Wow.
So I love I think my life is
Mm.
like that.
Hmm.
So I'll fight against the grain,
Hmm.
and I was told that I'm actually too old to be singing and performing, and I should move out of the way and let the younger ones who are
Wow.
teenagers and in their 20s, and they can actually have a career. And why are you recording?
Mm.
Like, what are you planning on doing with that?
Hmm.
What do you
Hmm.
mean? It's like 19 and 20-year-olds or 25
Right.
haven't gone through things that people in their
Exactly.
50s, 40s, 50s have are going through or have gone through.
Yes.
They don't have that experience. Well, I have that experience. I
Hmm.
have some experiences that some 50s, 40s, and 50s, and some 60-year-olds don't have.
Hmm.
So there are some, we can learn from one another and learn from one another's experiences.
Yeah.
So if I hold mine and take mine with me to the grave, then there's someone that didn't get that encouragement, that didn't get that ministry that maybe God has put in me,
Mm.
even specifically for that person.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, we cross paths for a reason. We make connections with people. You and I made a connection. Our paths crossed for a reason. We made a
Yeah.
connection for a reason. So I don't take that for granted, which is one of the reasons why I still went against my better judgment or my first thought
This is
and
your best.
connected with you anyway. Because there's a reason for this. And
There's a reason.
I'm curious and I want to find out what the reason is.
Hmm.
And I want to, again, at the top of that mountain, look out and see all of the glory.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about that because I think that that is one thing that in life we tend to, if we're not careful, we run from that struggle. We run from that upward, you know, climb to that, what is it, the zenith, to that plateau,
Yeah.
to where we can look out over the expanse. And I've seen so many programs out there that really seek to make it easier for people. It's like we're in this microwave mindset that things have to be fast and quick. And what I hear is missing those experiential lessons, life lessons that only time and pressure and heat, and even disappointments and things like that, only those things can bring. So when it comes to that, um, you don't run, or at least not successfully run away from
No,
those.
not
Okay,
successfully.
not that you don't try. I'm just saying that you don't successfully run from those challenges, but instead you take them head on. What do you think makes the difference between why your mechanism works that way to where you're like, okay, got to regroup and then I'm going for it? What is that about you that makes that happen that others may be able to glean so they don't think it's such a bad thing or that they've run up against something that is failure by the struggle?
So I think you have to define failure for yourself.
Mm.
I think you have to define success for yourself
Mhm.
because by some standards, where I am musically is a
Mhm.
failure. To me, it's a success.
Right.
Um, I have worked, well, I think the last time I had a corporate job was over 10 years ago.
Mm.
Um, I've done a few work for hire things like in security
Mhm.
to supplement my income, depending on what it was I needed to do. Like when I needed a car, when
Mhm.
mine just totally died on me and I needed a
Mhm.
car, it's like, okay, well, the money from music needs to still go to the house. So
Mhm.
I want a car. Let me go get a job.
Right.
I'll work this. I'll still do music. I'll still be able to take care of the house. And I did that for a few months. I got a car.
Mhm.
And I still did it. And I still get calls from time to time to do it now. But you have to know for yourself what success is.
Right.
The fact that I can provide for my family on music mostly,
Mhm.
and sometimes provide on music only,
Mm.
that's a success to me.
Right.
To be able to write
Mhm.
music, to be able to record music, to have people that are willing to work with me,
Mhm.
to have people in my life that have written songs or something for me
Mm.
and given to me so that I
Mhm.
could record. That's success to me. To have met a lot of the, especially in like the jazz artists that
Mhm.
I've worked with and sang background for or was featured on a show with, that's amazing to me.
Right.
Um, I have no formal anything. I'm in college now.
Mm.
Okay, so
Mhm.
to let you know, I'm
Mhm.
in college now. I have no formal training vocally. I have, I did take piano lessons. I take that back. I did take piano lessons in the seventh, eighth, and ninth grade in
Mhm.
But I was more into sports, especially my freshman year in high school. I was more into sports and athletics, and I told my mother she was wasting her money and wasting my time because I was not into it and didn't want to do it. So she said, "Fine, just
Right.
fine, okay." Now, looking back,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
really wish I had kept that up or that she had just made me go anyway.
Right.
But no, I'm grateful
Mm.
still. Um it's just, again, you have to know for yourself, define for yourself what success is and what failure is, because you can't, your mission and your
Hmm.
ministry is not that of anybody else's. You were created an individual,
Exactly.
and why it is that we are made to feel that we have to compete with someone else. Listen, I don't have to compete with you for
Mm-hmm.
God's blessings, for God's love,
Right.
for life. God gave that to me because He chose to give it.
Hmm.
I don't have to compete with you for that. So why do I have to compete with you for attention of someone else, or a
Yeah.
platform with someone else, or a job with someone else? You may be a CEO in the company,
Hmm.
and I may be cleaning the building.
Hmm.
However, if I were not cleaning the building,
True story.
you wouldn't be able to do effectively as a CEO what you do
True
for the
story.
company that's in the building.
Yeah.
So I'm
And
okay with
that's
taking my
evident anytime that there is a strike or has been a strike with sanitation. Okay. I remember this was back not too long after 9/11. We were back in New York. I think it was 2003 or 2004. And I remember there was, but we were in Greenwich Village, walking around eating, and got to do that. And I remember that the trash hadn't come to pick up the trash because you know how they just line everything up on.
yeah.
And it was the first time that I had seen that, and it hit me like, wow, if ever they would not do that, one day pass, this place will be unbearable.
Right.
Because not only was it like a wall of trash going down the street just waiting to be picked up, but that's just one day.
Yes.
2 days, it's done.
Yes.
So the things that we can easily look at as insignificant, God has a place for everybody. And
Yes.
so when you're rightfully in your place, a matter of fact, I had a good friend whose husband, he was in sanitation, and I mean, like it was in his blood, and he enjoyed, I mean, fully enjoyed what he did, right? And I'm thinking, like, you know what? That's where we all need to be, in that place that is fitted for us, that we just thrive in, and everybody's got to thrive in their industry. So I hear you when you're saying that it's like, when we're measuring success by somebody else's definition, somebody else's dictionary, we're always going to come up short because
Yes.
your idea of success is different than mine. And your idea of success for you is different than mine of for me
Yes.
and mine for you.
Yes.
So yeah, I love that. I think if more people heard that and understood that and got that to where it becomes a very personal thing, they would not run into the stressors and the depression that comes from trying to measure up to somebody else's standard,
Is
or measure over, I should say.
in the morning, in the afternoon, and at the end of the day,
Yeah,
it does not matter. You live with you. Even if you are married and you live with someone else, you still live with you.
true
You're who
story.
you have to face.
Yep.
You're who you have to face. So I just, after a while, just got tired of, like I said, all the chatter.
Mm,
I don't want to hear that. Okay, it's nice to know that this is what you think of me, but I still
mm,
know me.
mm, mm.
I know me. I know what I deal with. I know what I come home to. I know that my kids are cutting up. I may be out
Mhm.
on a stage and singing and everything looked just like fine. But when I get home, if that kitchen isn't clean, if they hadn't done what I told them to do, we're going to have some problems. Now, we just got through fighting before I came here, and I got to put on this face for you now and come and
Exactly.
sing like everything is wonderful. But they have really made me mad because we've been dealing with this. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I'm real. I
Yeah.
just I can't be a lot of times in shows, depending on whose show it is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, depending on whose show it
I was
is,
just about
I'll
to ask you
say,
about that.
I'll say, look, y'all got to work with me today
Right.
because them kids are mine. Ooh wee, you know, and I'll let you know I done had a rough day today. They wouldn't do this, that, or the other. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to shake all that off because I don't want to give that to you. Now,
Mhm.
let's, help me out. Send me that positive energy. And they may even laugh and be
Mhm.
like, yeah, oh, I know what you mean. Yeah, because and I'll tell them, because you and your husband or your wife or girlfriend on the way here, y'all got into something because they didn't turn at the light when you thought they should,
Right.
or they got too close, and you trying to
Mhm.
tell, you understand. So now let's all together shake all of that stuff off. Take a deep breath in and let
Mhm.
that out.
Mhm.
Hey, now let's go. Come on, let's get. I have to. I gotta let you know that I still live real life.
Right.
Outside of being on that stage, I still live real life.
And how has that gone over with your audience?
I think I for some, it's like the word of God. It will
Yeah.
draw or it will drive.
Right.
So I feel the same way. Those who it's for, it'll draw. And
Mm-hmm.
those who are looking for something else, hey, move
Right.
on and make room for those who it'll draw.
Right. Right. So you've been singing since you were very young. I remember a story that you talked about, and it was with your being in the background, singing background and all of that. And when you made that transition to now be in the foreground, let's talk about that a little bit because I think a lot of us tend to hide in the background, me included. We had that conversation already, you know, how I'm used to being behind the scenes. So,
Transition? Woo! I'm still in that transition. I'm still in that transition. I still like the background.
mhm,
I really do. I was told that I'm probably placed in positions of being in the front
mhm,
because I'm not seeking that attention.
right.
So, yeah, but the transition from back to being in the front, I, of course, in church was pushed, or I was called out, I should say.
Mhm,
Um, the minister of music saw me standing on the back row in the corner behind everybody to be hidden, and he was looking for someone to lead a song, and it was actually changed by the Hawkins family.
yes.
And he was playing the song, and everybody's like swaying, we're just going along. But what he didn't say is that he was looking for the person to lead it.
Mm,
He called me out. Oh my goodness, I was terrified, just
mhm,
terrified. Ah, so that was my first call out.
mhm,
The second was, I guess, maybe the most impactful,
mhm,
because I was with a band and I wanted to sing background. I
right,
was so happy and content just doing the harmonies. I love harmony.
mhm,
Um, so I was happy and content just to be in the back, you know, bouncing from side to side,
mhm,
just doing all the little dances and all that. I was so happy there.
mhm,
And the lady, it was a husband and wife that owned a band, and the wife says to me, Karen, you need to step it up and start singing lead. I said, oh, no, 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 I'm good. I'll stay back in the back. I can do background. This is fine for me. Yeah, perfect. She says, well, if you keep singing background,
Mm,
you will keep getting background pay.
mm. Mic drop.
Hmm.
Mic drop.
Wait a minute.
Mm,
We need to revamp this thing right here because background pay is it's okay, but it's
mm,
really not cutting it. You mean I get more? Oh,
mm,
motivate. Being a single mother,
mhm.
yes, I needed as much more as you could give me. So yeah, I went, started studying different people, and one of the prominent people at that time was Beyonce.
Mm,
And I started watching her stage presence and what she did and how she walked from side to side and how she
mm,
would point and say different things to the audience. And then I studied her enough to find out that she studied um, Tina Turner and
mhm,
a few other people. So I started studying them, pulling up, YouTube footage and
mhm,
watching them and kind of practicing at home in my room with the door closed and, just eventually shedding some of them
mhm.
and just being more comfortable with me because I can't really be them.
Yeah. So tell me something. Okay, so now you're going through, you're understanding their style and all that. You're doing that studying, uh, and that shedding of those personas in order to find that diamond in you. How long did that take? And
I'm
what was
still
that?
looking.
Okay, okay,
I'm still looking.
okay. Mm-hmm.
I'm still looking. But
Mm-hmm.
I just noticed that things that I was still uncomfortable with, I knew wasn't a part of me. So like walking back and forth across the stage and standing in one place and letting the wind go through my hair and all the oh no, that was no, 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 that's not me. So and the little costumes with all of them and half of me hanging out. No, that's not me either. So no, I just started to develop and be a little more confident
Mm-hmm.
and actually learning how to say no
Mm-hmm.
was a big step for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, learning how to do that played a big part in it as well.
Wow. So now you're here. You have um, been writing. How long have you been writing?
Like you, I started a long time ago. I wrote poems.
Mm.
I wrote um, a little mini play when I was in high school that no one ever saw, ever read, nothing. It was just me. I wrote little short stories. I did stuff like that all the time. And actually have recently um, picked up the pen and paper and started to write not really short stories, but just lessons that I'm learning in life as a woman, as a mother, um, just letting myself know that it's okay sometimes to not be okay
Hmm.
and
That's a lesson
cover
right there.
cover up to
Yeah.
cover up the hurt or confusion
Mm-hmm.
or disappointment or honestly depression sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just covering that only makes the wound worse.
Yeah.
It just goes deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And I just learned that I really had to deal with some things within me. um, so just writing things like that And that also helped in writing songs,
Hmm.
um, and always feeling like I should be in the background, that
Hmm.
someone else should be up front. Maybe they should, but not in my story.
Right. Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. Yeah.
So one of
You
the
know.
songs, like how you were saying that you listened,
Mhm.
that's where the song "Now It's Time."
Mhm.
Yeah, it was just, it wasn't like it's time for me to step out in the front for the world or anything. It was like it's time for me to be a major player in my life.
Mhm.
So it's no more like, one of my favorite lines in the song is, no more holding on to things that held me down. It's time to let it go. It's like I've got to let all that stuff go. I can't give away all of my love and energy to everybody else and then still expect for me to grow as a person or individual.
Right.
I've got to reserve that for me. If I don't
Mhm.
take care of me, I can't take care of anybody else,
Mhm.
including my family.
Mhm.
So that's a lesson that I'm still working through and
Mhm.
learning.
Mhm.
But yeah, that helped me, um, I guess, convey life lessons in song.
Hmm.
That's where the writing with that comes from.
Wow. I love that. That's so important because I think that too often we miss that key principle right there, and we tend not to know how to consider ourselves properly. And I'm only saying that not that I've looked at any statistics. I've just looked at all of the folks that I know in my life and all of the folks that I have talked to over the years, seen over the years. It seems pretty consistent that that is the one thing, is that we tend to have a lot of things out of harmony, out of balance
Yeah.
when it comes to things like that, and we look at taking care of home base as there's something sinister about that, something a little wrong with that, if you look at making sure that you're in order before you go in.
Exactly.
Okay. And it's kind of interesting, and I don't know if that's a global thing per se, or if that's more of what we do over here in the Western world. Because like when you look at uh, some of the different principles, that you see in Scripture and all that, it's like there's some things that let us know, yeah, no, we're not supposed to quite do it like that. We're supposed to
Yeah.
love our neighbor as we love ourselves. And so it's like,
Exactly.
if you don't have love for yourself, how can you properly love your neighbor?
That part.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
part. I
Yes.
can't love you if I don't love
Mhm.
me.
Yeah. And if you can't love you, and there's another thing, is that we also seem to forget that we're God's creation too. And so if we don't have love for his creation, which is us, then for one, it's like I saw the scripture where he says, like, if a person says that they love their brother, or that they love God but they hate their brother, that they're a liar. So you can't not even not love, your fellow people and say that you love God without being a liar. You can't say that you love other people when you don't love yourself, because you don't know what it is. you know so how can you define that
Yeah.
if you don't even know what it is, but you're saying that you love them, but you're abusing yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Abusing.
Abusing.
Yeah.
I like that. Mm, I might be pinching off of that.
There you go for it.
Mm,
Yeah, I find that seems to be the norm, and that is the supported norm in a very dysfunctional way of living. That we are taught to know, you sacrifice, sacrifice. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with sacrifice, but there is something wrong with the mindset around how you do yourself to damage to where you can't even be at your best to give your best.
right.
So, how are you now, quote unquote, loving the next person when you can't even show up with your best because you've so damaged the vessel that's supposed to be bringing this thing? Your vessel's got holes in it, and you're supposed to be pouring water, and it's all leaked out. you know. So, there's got to be a remedy to that.
Yeah.
And that remedy, you got to go back to home base and say, okay, well, what are the real marching orders? What is the blueprint that I need to be working from? Because if I follow that, then I won't have those issues.
And see, for women, a lot of times, especially in this industry, we're so beauty based. And who determines what beauty is?
Right,
Who determines that? So,
right.
what makes me any less beautiful than someone who is um, 6 feet tall
Hmm.
and wears a size 6 or 4? Or
I was
no,
going to say, don't say zero. Don't
no,
say
no,
zero.
no, don't, please don't even go. But what makes that beautiful? And
Right,
why should I be lesser than because
right.
I'm not that? I am God's creation. I
Hmm.
was created this way. So you're saying then that God messed up with me?
Right.
Is that what you're saying? Because maybe my hair isn't like Europeans and is straight and
Mhm.
just flowing and oh no, so now I need to alter myself
Right.
to fit into your dynamic. I don't
Hmm.
I have to get to the point where I'm still working on that too.
Hmm.
I'm working on a lot of things all at the same time.
Hmm.
But to stand in the mirror unclothed and say, I appreciate you.
Hmm. Hmm.
I appreciate, oh, this scar here. I remember where that came from. You
Hmm.
heal so nicely. You're still working. You're this, that, the other. I've had to do that, like looking at my face
Hmm.
and saying, oh, well, excuse me, I have moles or where did these come from? Why do I have this? Or I
Hmm.
used to do that. It's like, no, okay, God, well, this is here. All right, well, that's kind of cute. Well, I have one over here too. Or, oh, this just reminds me of my aunt because she had these. And
Hmm.
so I had to go through those things and start to love me.
Hmm.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that is so important. You know, we are unfortunately bombarded with so many images and ideas of what beauty is, what intelligence is, what it, you name it, we've got a definition in a box to put people in. And there's somewhere along the way where even the folks who are successful, okay, end up in a box to where that becomes their own bondage. I remember I had a good friend, you know, married couple, and she was very successful at her job. I mean, high six-figure earner, uh,
Mm.
really knew her stuff, but she wasn't happy. And she says, I need to step away from this, but my training is so much different because, like in my family, in my culture, you don't step away from something that's paying you like this. And she says, and yeah, I can take time off here and there and all that, but the demands are high. And she equated it to, and these were her words, was they're the golden handcuffs.
Mm.
I'm chained to this thing, and it looks great on the outside, and everybody who's looking in thinks like, what a great life. But I know that I'm still chained to this thing. I'm bound by this. And so she felt, even at that high level, beautiful home, right? She felt that she didn't have her own life. She was owned. She just had a higher price point than most. And it was just as bothersome to her as it is to everybody else that I've talked to and seen and experienced who feel owned. Because there's something about freedom that no matter how much we're paid, we don't want to give up.
Exactly.
Mhm. And so she experienced that. And I was like, what I remember another friend of ours, he, I mean, again, inspector, this, that, and the other, goes over and inspects, multi-million dollar jobs. I'm talking about in the hundreds of millions of dollars construction things and all of that. Make sure that everything is, so things don't cave in.
Right.
Gets paid great money. I remember talking to him, and this was like 15, almost 20 years ago. And we got, I don't know how we got into this conversation, but I was like, so, if you always wanted to do this, he goes, well, no, actually, I never wanted to do this, but it paid the bills. And of course, it got better and better, the pay.
That part.
And then the pressures of that pay, and then what it is that he had to support because of that, and then looking the part, it's kind of interesting because the more the pay is, the more you have to up level in certain things that you spend on in order to now maintain the appearance of what that pay is supposed to bring in order for you to be successful. So you end up having the same kind of issues or more as the person who is working the minimum wage job, keeping things together. You're just keeping things together at a different level. So he told me, he says, well, Jason, I really always wanted to be a clown in the circus. But that wasn't something that was acceptable to his family. That wasn't something that he could justify stepping into. So he didn't pursue his dream. And instead, he became this inspector that's flown all over to do these inspections. And he's miserable, miserable. So that word success, it's like a double-edged sword, because if you don't really understand what success is based on how God created you will go for the wrong model, and you'll get the appearance of it and all the misery that comes with that if that's not your right fit. You know.
A lot of people with a lot of money, um, I've heard. So I like interviews because I like the backstory.
Right.
So I watch. Um, I used to watch Tavis Smiley all the
Oh yeah.
time.
Yeah.
A lot of times people would come on there and he would ask, what is it that led you down this path or in this career? And they'd end up saying a lot of times, well, they liked music or they played this instrument in school or, they played basketball or they wanted to
Mhm.
do, I'm sure that um, maybe had Barack Obama had the choice, maybe he would have played basketball since
Mhm.
he seems to love it like
Right.
so much. Because you see him. I've seen the last video I saw of him. I think it was on Instagram. Someone posted he was in hard bottom shoes and slacks and a like a sweater vest or something,
Mhm.
and he was shooting shots. Walked on the court. It was almost
Mhm.
like a close to being a 3-pointer, just all net, and just
Mhm.
walked off like nothing else happened.
Right.
Like you could tell that's on the inside of him,
Mhm.
even though being the president is phenomenal.
Mhm.
I'm sure you could hear some of his stories
Right.
of what he would have loved to do, or
Right.
he was compelled. Well, he was probably compelled though to be a leader.
Mhm.
I assume same with Martin Luther King. But the thing with people that I'm sure there's some challenges, even people who are envious of Beyonce,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, with the lifestyle they assume she
Right.
lives,
Right.
don't really understand what it is that it took for her to get there
Mhm. Mhm.
and what it takes to maintain that. You now have given up your life. That is bondage. You can't walk outside your door
Exactly.
without people knowing who you are or following you, or
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
can't go to the grocery store. You got to have someone else grocery shop for you. Just the little things that we take for granted.
Exactly.
That's never been a desire of mine to be on that status because
Right.
I like going places and
Mhm.
people don't know who I am.
Mhm.
I want to be, again, that background thing.
Right.
I like being back there though. I like doing things. So like now I'm studying music in school and right now entertainment business.
Mm.
I want to be able to help other people, which then puts me in the background and let you go and experience that if that's what you want. And
Right.
I want to be able to write and create my own music to give to people just like it was a gift to me, someone gave me the opportunity to sing a song that they wrote. Well, I
Mhm.
want to do the same thing with other people,
Mhm.
um, and still be involved in it, but not necessarily be upfront.
Mhm.
If that's where I'm led to be, then amen, and so be it. I will go ahead and make it through that one too.
Right.
That's just not a desire. Um,
Mhm.
there's a lot of, like you said before, about sacrifice. There's nothing wrong with sacrifice.
Mhm.
Just don't sacrifice who you are to get to a particular.
Right.
That's the thin line right there.
That's like that scripture that says, "What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul?"
Lose his soul.
Yeah,
Yes.
and a lot of us, if we don't understand that mechanism, can easily make that step over the chasm, and it's like what just happened here. And then, if you find yourself doing things that you never thought that you would, and it goes against everything in you, and you have to quiet that down because you know that you've stepped over that line, all for the pursuit of what was told to you was success. I remember I interviewed this Indian filmmaker years ago when Blav was still here. He was one of my first interviews. And he told me a story that his mom told him that I thought was phenomenal. And it's something that I've kept with me since that interview. This has been ooh, a good, what, 5 or so years now. And it was the story of this fox. And the fox, it had this long plush tail and this, that, and the other. And then, some kind of way he was wooed into this new life. And in this new life, they said, well, all of the ones who've really arrived, well, we don't need that tail anymore because that's like primitive, that's this, that, and the other. So, they convinced the fox to now arrive. And so then he shed his tail and was there with the other foxes who shed their tail, only to find out on the other side of that he didn't like the results. He was miserable, and he found out that they were miserable too. But they didn't say anything to him about the misery because they wanted company in that misery. So
Misery
here it is.
love.
Loves company. So here it is now. He's there feeling not like himself anymore. He doesn't feel like a fox. He's lost his tail, the tail that once he just kind of took for granted. It's like primitive. Yeah, they're right. Until he made that move that was irreparable. He couldn't go back.
Right.
So now he had a choice. Was he going to join them to convince other foxes, oh, you don't need that tail? Or was he going to tell the truth and say, look, I'm miserable without the tail? Unfortunately, he went ahead and joined in, and then they wooed other foxes, right? But you see, so, and I thought, what a great life lesson. I'm sure that story can be told both ways. Um, but here it is that we have the appearance of success, and then we stay in that grind. And instead of just being truthful about it, look, let me tell you, there's an underbelly to this thing. And so you may still choose to go down this way because that may be your lot in life. That may be your portion to be able to weather the storms that happen behind the scenes here. But you should know there's some storms behind the scene here.
Yeah.
And now that you know, here are all the things that are on the table. Can you handle that? Okay. For them to now make the conscious choice, yes or no. Because if it's a yes, it's like, oh, that's no problem. Because they may have been given the grace to be able to navigate those storms. You know,
Yeah.
some folks, I mean, when God says that He's everywhere, that means that He's got to have His people everywhere in order to shine His light everywhere. And so we looking from the outside can look in and judge a situation or a person, not understanding that, wait a minute, this is their lot in life because they're going to deliver something at a specific time and season for the right reason, for the right person, in order to impact that whole industry.
Yeah.
And so you may not understand how they're going about it, why they're going about it, why they do what they do, the way that they do it. And you're stuck on, well, this is how it should be done based on your understanding of how you should do things, not understanding what God's marching orders were for them and how they need to move to even be there. So it kind of, you know, really hit my thinking in a certain way that, when I look at who was that? It was the Hebrew spies or what have you that went in, and then so uh, this lady, I forget her name in the scripture, but she was the one that hid them, and then she hung the I think was it the scarlet thing out of her window, what have
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
They knew which one not to destroy,
Yeah.
but that saved her life. But if you were looking at her through the wrong lens, you'd look at her and say, "Oh well, this is what she does in life, and and she's a woman of night, blah blah blah," not understanding that it was through her that God delivered the victory. Okay, so we need to get out of that and need to understand that we don't know what God's got in the works. All
We
we know is if we are doing what He told us to do or not. You know. So go ahead.
sometimes it may look like um it's what we're supposed to do. I
Mm-hmm.
found for me that it sometimes looks like something that I'm supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's more like it ends up being more like a lesson
Right.
versus um like I had a choice and it's like, oh, okay, well, I choose to do this because this looks like, what I ought to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there would be a lesson on either side,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like it's more like it's like chess and checkers.
Mm-hmm.
You come to a pivotal point, you can make a move and that you think is going to lead you to the win, but then it actually leads to your defeat.
Right.
Now the battle's not over.
Mm-hmm.
You learn some lessons along the way to make you stronger for the next thing that's coming behind that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm grateful. I wasn't grateful when I was in the throes of this stuff, but being transparent, I was not happy at all. But yeah, on the other end, and then you can turn around and look back. I'm
Yeah.
grateful that I could turn around and look back
Yes.
because some didn't make it through. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's I don't understand God.
Mm-hmm.
I won't pretend to say that I do.
Right.
Um, but I am grateful that I have enough leeway to make choices
Mm-hmm.
and that I can learn lessons not so much about who God is, but who I am and who I am in God and make it through to see who I am in his plan. So that's phenomenal to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going
That's good. That's
I'm
good.
not gonna I'm not gonna cry.
But it's so important though. It's so important. So here it is. You are now making moves. You started out very young and delved into the industry in one way. More doors opened up for you, and now you find yourself center stage. I know that your operating in your who will help a lot of people operate in their thems.
Mm.
Um, and that's got to be, when you think about it from that perspective, something liberating and at the same time, something awesome, maybe even a little weighty because,
A little.
okay, I'm downplaying it, yeah, a little. because I hear a lot of celebrities when they say, "Oh well, I'm not a role model. I just do what I do," and I'm like, well, I don't know that we can not be role models as our platform grows because we take up more space even without thinking about it. So what does that look like for you, as your platform expands and folks start to understand that you can be real, have a real life, and be extremely gifted and talented and be a celebrity without it meaning that you cease to be a person, that you become the persona. How if you have even sat and thought about that, sat with that for a moment, you're just being you, how that helps give people permission to be them in all of the talent that God has blessed them with. How does that work in your mind?
I hadn't thought about it, to
Mm,
be honest, but I
mm-hmm,
will tell you that if I am being used and I'm that pebble creating that ripple in the pond,
mm-hmm.
yes and amen. Yes, we need more real people.
Yeah.
That's so necessary. Just not just in music, but in the world. I don't okay, so I don't travel the world. Um, I am more aware of what's going on in the United States.
Mm-hmm,
So if I can be the ripple in the pond that affects people in the United States, in Georgia, in Atlanta,
mm-hmm.
then yes and amen. Thank you, God. I'll be that.
Beautiful. So now tell me something. What do you have in the works now? What's next for you?
Graduation on June 29th,
Mhm.
2021. That's that's the
Congratulations.
focus. That's
Nice.
the focus. Well, I'm actually working. I don't like telling you stuff because you 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 take stuff and you run. You oh my goodness. And I'm not even sure that I'm ready for the run. I'm still stretching, and you on
Right.
lap 6. And we only got 7 laps to go, and I gotta try to catch it. Oh my goodness. So because of school,
Mhm,
one of my projects was to do a storyboard and video treatment. Well, get it correct order. Video treatment and storyboard for a video.
mhm,
And I had to come up with a whole concept and all of, oh my goodness. So I said, okay, well, we'll make it fun. And I'm going to do a video treatment and storyboard for a music video. Well, that was cool at first when it was just a concept. But then when he said for me to actually plot out what that looked like so that
mhm,
he could see, oh, yeah, so that made me think even more. It was like more work. Well, what am I doing and what am I selling and what benefit does it have to anyone? Because we needed to get contributors
mhm,
and we were using that as a pitch to whoever we were trying to get funds to make a video for.
mhm,
And doing that, I had to go back and now just dig inside of myself. It's just a lot of for me, it's more learning about me. I'm
mhm,
learning of the process, but I'm also learning about me and insecurities and just challenges with my thinking about myself
mhm, mhm,
in the industry. So learning me and those processes at the same time was like overwhelming.
mhm, mhm,
That I did that and he liked it. He said that he understood what I was saying, the whole storyboard and all of that. So that was good. The next project though was about podcasts.
mhm,
So I had to do the exact same thing. And as I had had this wonderful idea. Oh, get girlfriends, we'll have the mic, just sit there and we're all, going over different little things and have our own little podcast and, just women talking together, just, sisterhood type thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that fell apart like less than a week before the assignment was due. So I had to go and revamp everything. Oh, you talk
Mhm.
about overwhelmed.
Right.
Um, so I had to come up with a brand new concept. It's, the same thing, storyboard, all of that. So I
Mhm.
had to do all of that, turn that assignment in, and then I had to come up with an actual podcast.
Mhm.
But with like 2 days before the assignment was due, who was I gonna go and interview?
Right.
Um, and I couldn't like, call people up on the phone. I didn't have all of the necessary equipment, all of that type of stuff. So what I ended up doing was interviewing myself.
Mhm.
Um, and actually the title of the podcast is called That Part.
Mhm.
So when you're saying different things to me on here that resonate with me,
Mhm.
that's what yeah, that part. That one right there. That's what gets me. That's an aha moment, like Oprah would
Mhm.
say,
Right.
that one, yes.
Mhm.
So that's the premise of the whole podcast. Just talk with
Right.
people, and it's more so about music
Mhm.
and people that are in music that work or they're playing for some artist that people know of, but you don't really know that person. So they live right here in Atlanta.
Mhm.
They perform out here in Atlanta, but you really don't know who they are. We have
Right.
so many musicians out here, so many talented people that are behind the scenes that are making things happen.
Mhm.
And my premise was that it's time to know who they are.
Mhm.
You know, I got pulled out to the front. Hey,
Mhm.
again, misery loves company. So
Right.
pull some other people out to the front too.
Right.
And I did it, interviewed myself, told a backstory about
Mhm.
me, different
Mhm.
things, and I actually recorded it, edited it, put the music. It was music from
Nice.
one of my songs.
So you
I did an
produced it.
intro, an
Yep.
outro, did
Yep.
all of.
Yep.
I was up for 23 hours
Yep.
straight, no
Yep.
sleep, trying to. And because the instructor knew what I was doing, and I guess it
Mhm.
kind of seen how I have this perfectionist thing about me, and it just wasn't an assignment I was turning in for a grade. That this
Right.
was, it really meant something to me.
Right.
So he said, "No, like take your time. I'll give you another day." Okay. So with that, when I finished it, he said, "Just let me know when you finish." So
Mhm.
I finished it. I submitted it. I sent him a message and let him know. He went back and listened to the description of the podcast and went through that part, and then he listened to the podcast. He told me that he listened like a couple of times.
Mhm.
He said, "Does it? Has anyone ever told you that you have a voice for podcasting?"
Yep.
No, no one's ever told me. I'm not trying to do. He said, "I really think that this is something that you should pursue.
Mhm.
Um, I think that this is something that people need, to know the background,
Yeah.
to know people in the background." He said, "I think that would be very interesting,
Mhm.
and I think you could actually go somewhere with this."
Yes.
And I got a 100. Yes. I was like, "Ooh, my work was not in vain. Now
Right.
let's sleep." Oh,
Right.
yeah, it was good to hear that. And since
Mhm.
then, I have actually been looking up how to podcast
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
what's required and what I would need to do, and just learning now through the rest of the year, and then
Right.
probably start actually putting it out
Mhm,
in January.
mhm, mhm.
So that's in the
That's
works.
exciting. That's exciting. Podcast, radio, and podcast, they're actually my favorite forms of media.
Mm,
It's something about the voice and just hearing the conversation behind the scenes that it doesn't get distracted by the video. Not that I don't love video, I do, of course, but I love production. But it's something about the podcast where you can just listen and you build your own picture of what it
yeah.
is you're hearing. So it's
Yes.
not, it's like reading a good book.
Yeah.
I remember years ago I read The Color Purple. One of the few books that I had like read at that time. I was not a big reader coming up, but I read this book, and for some reason, um, after I read it, I saw the movie. I was thoroughly disappointed in the movie. I said, wait a minute, they missed this scene, and well, what
That
happened
typically
here?
happens.
Yeah, yeah,
That typically happens.
yeah. And because the words, they paint such a rich picture, the tapestry that you get from reading or from listening
Yeah.
is completely different than somebody else's vision for what that is. And I think what I love about radio and podcasts and things like that is that everybody at once is creating their own picture of what they're hearing. When you look at the movie, everybody is being force fed what the director or the writer or the producer thought that they should feel about this thing.
Yeah.
So I think that on one hand, it kind of robs the person of their own experience and a deeper place where that story sits after the fact.
Yeah.
And I don't find that happens with podcasts.
Yeah. I've gotten into them because I can be in the kitchen,
Mhm.
cooking or cleaning. I can hear, I don't have to turn to see
Right.
what's actually going on.
No
It can just
distraction.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can just play and I can get what you're saying. It's like you said,
Mhm.
um, when you and I talk and you tell me things about you or what you're doing, my own movie is playing in my head
Mhm.
of what you're
Absolutely.
saying. I can see you actually doing the things at that point that you say, and
Mhm.
I'm just that way. People
Mhm.
talking, I see video.
Mhm.
That's it for me.
Exactly. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you about the black eyed peas that I did the other day. That was amazing.
Oh, what'd you put in it?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I did two different versions. Okay, so one of them, okay, I had the black eyed peas cooked up, no seasoning or anything like that, because I was actually demonstrating how you work with them. So
Mm.
one I did, I
And that's
curried.
on video?
That's on video. Matter of fact, I'll tag you in it. I'll
Oh, I was
tag
gonna
you.
say I didn't get tagged in that one.
Yes, I will tag you
Oh,
in it.
okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
because you tagged me in the ones that I'm supposed to be learning lessons from. Yeah. Yeah, you tagged me in those.
Right, right,
Yeah, I watched those. Yeah. But I didn't get the one about the black eyed peas.
right.
Yeah, I missed that one.
You're gonna get the one with the black eyed peas. Okay, so I did them two different ways. So the first one I curried them down. So onions, I put in the curry. Used the red curry paste and a marinara sauce. Okay, but the
Hmm.
application with that was I fried those both down.
Hmm.
Then and I added some dill seed, dill weed, a little salt, and then the onions, then the curry paste and marinara and all that. Fried all that down. I didn't put those in until, well, you'll see it in the video on how I
Yeah,
went.
see,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm probably the only thing
Mm-hmm.
that I have in my pantry
Mm-hmm.
that you just mentioned
Mm-hmm.
is onions and black eyed peas. Yeah, so that means I gotta go grocery
You
shopping
gotta
to
go grocery
go.
shop. Because I'm telling you, when you taste these, look. Now, I guess it depends on how expanded your palate is, but if you like beautifully seasoned foods and exotic foods and all that, you're gonna love this. My mom was like, "What? Like that was black eyed peas?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She says, "I've never tasted like that. This was amazing. Didn't even taste like black eyed peas." I was like, "Yeah." And then I did another one where I used It was grilled eggplant, grilled peppers, and grilled zucchini. And then I cooked that down.
I want that one with the eggplant.
Yes,
Yes, I need that. Mm,
yes, yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's part two of the black eyed peas thing because I did them back to back.
okay.
Amazing, amazing. Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Do you guys have a Trader Joe's out there?
Yes.
Okay, so you could just get the grilled pepper, and they have a frozen thing of grilled pepper, zucchini, and eggplant in there. Grab that because that's what I used. It's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless you want to go, the organic route and just straight like from start to finish, you grill your own things. You could do that too. And if I had time, I would have, but I didn't have time, so I went. Yeah, I get like the foundational stuff with the food. I'll grind my own curry paste down,
Oh,
and
see, no, no.
I didn't do
Where
that
can I
before.
buy? Was it? Where can I
Yeah.
buy
Yes.
curry paste? Yeah.
Yes.
Mm,
So I will tag you in that, and you will see the curry paste that I use, the whole deal. Yeah,
okay.
and you can get it at like the Asian markets, Korean markets, or whatever.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. There's one not far from my house, so
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So you got all you need there. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got you covered. I got you covered. Okay, so you got your podcast, the one that you now had to transition into just you in there, and actually, I'm glad that that happened, and I'll tell you why. Especially when you're starting out, because it's very easy to start out and then immediately start out with a crutch, you know. But when you have to do it yourself, you learn your voice in that genre. And
Hmm.
then as you continue to grow in that and get real comfortable in your voice, then when you bring on a guest, it's not something that will cripple you. But if you bring on a guest at the beginning and then you end up interviewing more and more guests, if a guest doesn't show up, you're like, okay, now what do I do? Because I've not really stretched my voice in this realm. So now that you have, and if you continue to do that, then when you bring them on, they could be on and off. It's not going to affect the quality of your production.
Right.
Yeah. So I love that. Okay. Any writing projects coming up? Any new albums? Any new things that we should look for and release? And by the way, I have put your Facebook page up there. You guys go ahead and make sure that you visit Karen Bryant at facebook.com/Karen Bryant Music. Okay. Pop on over there. Make sure that you like the page, follow the page, and share the page out. All right, Karen.
Yay.
Yeah. I'll leave
Yay.
that up for a moment.
Yeah. No recordings
Mhm.
coming up, but that doesn't mean that nothing will happen
Right.
because a lot of times I don't really have anything in mind,
Mhm.
but I do have one friend that I can drop an idea to, and he's Johnny on the spot. Like, we got to get it done quickly.
Nice.
So I can say, I can hum something and say, hey, can you put music to this? And he'll say, okay, well, give me a minute.
Mm.
And it's almost like literally a
A
minute.
minute.
Um, because a couple of hours later, he comes back. Is this what you were thinking about? Wait,
Mm.
I'm not ready yet. Wait, hold on. I just wanted you to. Oh my goodness. And he's like, so what do you have? What ideas do you? Well, what kind of song is it? Well, what were you feeling when you?
Yeah.
Oh, I said. So now I know what people feel like when I do that to,
Hmm.
to them. I know now. Okay, lesson learned. But yeah, that could be something to come up. I'm just really right now. This is kind of like home stretch for school,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
and I really want to make sure I go out with a bang
Right.
and still learn. The goal here is I want to create a song from beginning to end
Mm.
with minimal help. I
Mm.
want to do it all myself. I want to write the lyrics. I want to write the music. I know that I'm capable. I don't quite know how I'm going to pull it off, but
Mm.
by the end of 2021, I will have at least a song, at least um, one song that I have written and produced, and the engineer everything but master the song.
Hmm.
um, I don't even want to play with that, but because that's a totally different beast altogether.
Yeah, it is.
um, but everything else, I want to be able to do that myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in the processes of thinking what the message will be in that song.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely something positive, uplifting
Mm-hmm.
to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't narrowed that down. Haven't narrowed that down just yet. And I also want to do my own video.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, those are big tasks. Yeah, so I have a couple of cameras. I have a couple of GoPros. I just got the latest one. Yeah, and I don't want to just have it just to have it.
Right.
So
It's
I want to
supposed
do
to
some,
work. Yes.
yeah, when I want to do some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend that has a drone,
Ooh.
so I'm going to get with him. I want it to be, I want it to look like it was a big production.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be, I have a vision of me being on a mountain somewhere
Mm-hmm.
in some fantastically fabulous dress that
Mm-hmm.
goes down the mountain,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and just stand there and sing whatever.
Right.
So it may be a video for the actual song that I'm working on. And yeah, just something that's totally outside of that box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
I
excited about
want to
that.
do that.
I'm
I want to
excited
do that.
about that. Yeah.
So
Well,
since
I'm
you're in
looking forward.
production, I may be like calling you. uh,
Please do.
Okay, how do I do this? I want, this is
Exactly.
what I want to, because I don't want to have, the outfit or whatever, and then um have a green screen and then put the picture in the back. I don't want to,
Mhm.
I want to actually be there. So I'm
Mhm.
thinking like, how do I do that? How can I do that? And being an independent artist and
Okay.
not signed with a major label with
Mhm.
major money,
Mhm.
and I'm still we're still going through the pandemic
Yeah.
and have not recovered from
But you said
financially
something that
recovered
was,
from
yeah,
this whole thing.
you said something that's very critical to that whole setup. First, you said drone. Okay, so there's your distancing right there, physical distancing. Okay, so,
Yeah.
and then also, there's just like you're independent, there's a lot of independents out there who would love a project like this. Okay.
Really?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I remember when I first started out at the studio, and I had a friend there who was a producer as well, and he was like, "Jason, I got this shoot, and I need to, do this. Can you help me on this?" And so all of the crew members, everybody just was like, "Oh yeah, let's do this." It was just like how you call your friend and it's like, "Yeah, I was thinking you hum a few things." He's like, "Oh, give me a minute," and then he comes back a few hours later and he's got the song. Well, that's how that was. It's like when you are, amongst your people, then, there's like this kind of code that happens. I don't even know how to explain it, but you already know it because, you get that with your people. And it's like, yeah, this seems like a really cool project. So if the project is cool enough, then they're like, yeah, let's do it. I mean, not only is it great for the portfolio, but it's a lot of fun and everybody just enjoys the process. And, so I mean, you never know. You never know. There's a lot of hungry people out there who are waiting to get their hands on a project where they can just, go to town on it. So, if the,
Okay.
if the treatment is really good, yeah, you gonna have to stretch far to find somebody.
Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, and you got my number, so you know.
Yes,
So
definitely.
yeah,
And I'm going to use it.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going to use it.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
great.
I
Well,
see
Karen,
like, some fairy dust, some just,
right.
oh, yes.
And then you may even find that there'll be some CG stuff in there, some After Effects in there doing
Oh,
things.
I
When you
was
said
gonna say
fairy
that.
dust, I
That
was like,
it'd
yeah.
like be way beyond my budget. Ooh.
No, actually, After Effects and all that, and it all comes down to just how deep it is and how cool it is and how fun it is that folks are like, oh, I'm going to try this and that and the other. So,
See, that's
if,
that's wonderful because I would welcome ideas that are
hmm
so far beyond
hmm
my imagination right now
hmm
because I'm
hmm
still growing in this whole. I just took that was the video and the podcast assignments were both from a media production course.
nice,
I
nice.
never imagined media production, and
hmm
this semester is not quite as fun,
hmm
but coming up, I will be doing a digital marketing
Mm,
course,
okay.
and there's another course that I looked at the everything that was required for me to
hmm
graduate, and I was,
hmm
oh, that sounds like fun. Oh,
hmm
that's gonna be hard, but that sounds like it's fun.
hmm
Oh, that's
hmm
gonna be stretching me way out of my comfort zone. And
Oh
every
yeah,
time I say comfort zone, I think about Chris.
Chris. Exactly.
This gets on my nerves. And then I'm sure now with production,
hmm
yeah, your face is gonna come up. I'm sure.
hmm
Just
hmm hmm
yeah,
Yeah. Well, Karen, this has been awesome. I am so glad that we were able to get together and have this conversation because, again, it just it was just good all the way around. I loved everything that you had to say. And I actually, of course, I'm gonna put you on the spot now.
uh-oh.
I want to love. I would love to have you back in the future. I know you're busy right now in school and all that, but if you would be my guest again, I would love
I
to dive
love talking with you. You know better than that.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, so hang out for a second. Let me kind of close everything down. And but real quick, everybody. Okay, so y we didn't even get into all of the meat of what it is that there is to talk about. This woman is so prolific, and if you have ever heard her voice, ever heard her sing, you should be able to tell by how she speaks. Very melodic. Her voice is very melodic, and her music is like to the nth degree. So pop on over to facebook.com/ Karen Bryant Music. That's KarenBryantMusic. Karen Bryant Music on Facebook. And make sure that you like the page, share the page, connect with the page, interact with the page, because I have a feeling that Karen's going to be a lot more active on that page. And you'll see things that she's got going on. You'll be able to listen to some of those, her hum a few bars, if you will. And also, I'm sure that she'll have other ways for you to catch her other media, from her Reverb Nation to you name it. I mean, she's got some great stuff out there. Uh, if you're from, if you're a person who loves good music, you're gonna love what she's got. It's just,
Oh,
she's got music that really speaks to the soul and music that tells a story. And as you can tell, she's a great storyteller and she takes you back into her life. And her music does the same thing. So, Karen, thank you so much for hopping on here. You have been amazing. And I loved every moment of the conversation that we had.
me too.
Yes. Okay. So, and for all of you who are following, make sure that you go to TJH Media LTD on Facebook. You could also visit me at jasonhodge.biz for information on when upcoming shows are here. And for those of you who understand what's happening right now with the Mastering Your Media, uh, I'm a part of the Harry the Big Dog 100 video challenge. I did that last month. This month, I decided, let me go ahead and dive into something that I absolutely love and to talk about and to flesh out. And I know that it's something that's really good for my marketplace on a number of different levels. So many of us don't realize what needs to happen when it's the behind the scenes of your media. And when it comes to mastering your media, it's important that you understand the different components. Not that you have to do everything, but what it does when you understand how media works, how your media should work, it frees you up to be able to make the right type of moves so that you are growing the way that you should be growing in your marketplace. So if you've not already liked my page, then go on over to facebook.com/TJH Media LTD. That's TJH Media Ltd over at Facebook. Until next time, it's been great. I will catch you